NBA players are not getting to force themselves out of teams these days, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. If you caught last week's episode, we talked about Damian Lillard and how the Blazers mentioned that they will not just trade Damian Lillard because Damian Lillard wants to be traded. They will not be forced into the move. Obviously, they want to keep him. If he's not willing to stay, which is the clear, clear message that he sent, he said he only wants to be traded to the Heat. The team is looking at it like this: hey, in the past, teams may have just said, forget it. We'll just get whatever we can get from the Heat and move on. The Blazers are at least trying to be, whether it's creative, whether they're trying to get other teams involved so they can get, pull more resources out of those teams, whether they're being, just kind of drawing a line in the sand with the Heat. Whatever they're doing, they're taking their time. They're not rushing into it. There's nothing to gain from them, right? We talked about it last week. There's nothing to gain from rushing the process. And you're asking, well, Neil, what are we talking about today, though? Why are you bringing up Damian Lillard again today? The reason I'm bringing him up is because of this. Keith Pompey here posted, he obviously covers the Sixers because it's Pompey on Sixers. If we don't get either a very good player or something we can turn into a very good player, we are not going to do it. 76ers president of basketball operations, Daryl Morey tells 97.5 FM of trading James Harden. So here we are in a situation where a top flight player in James Harden is asking to be traded. The team, again, is in no rush to trade him. They would prefer to keep him, just like the Blazers would prefer to keep Dame. If they can't keep him and he's forcing their hand, he may have a team that he's forcing their hand to as well. I've seen teams like the Clippers and stuff. I'm not sure if he's like only given that as an option though, or if it's just kind of his preferred choice. James Harden obviously has been traded more times than once. And I don't know if it's a locked in thing where he only wants one spot, but at the end of the day, the 76ers would prefer to keep him. If not keep him, they're not rushing out to trade him either. They're going to say, hey, we want a really good player in return, or we want the picks, that we can get to get a good player. We have no rush. We have no urgency to make this trade. So whoever wants him needs to make it worth it for us. The problem that becomes from this is, what do the 76ers think James Harden is worth? What do they think teams should be giving them for him? The likelihood is it's higher than teams are going to want to pay. And so will we have this situation where James Harden stays with the Sixers, kind of, makes up with them? Or do we think that, no matter how we slice this, he will get traded at some point? I ask that because we do have other stuff here in regards to this. And one of them is this. From NBA Central, the Sixers want an all-star level all-star level return for James Harden. So that makes you feel like it's not draft picks, right? They want a player to win right now. So they want an all-star level return, whether that's one player or whether that's a few players. We have no clue exactly, how specific they are with this. Philadelphia's position on a Harden trade has been described as unreasonable by competing executives. Of course, they think it's unreasonable because they want, the player for as little as possible. The Sixers could just be asking for a ridiculous return. And if they are asking for a ridiculous return, it puts James Harden in a tough spot. It puts the team in a tough spot, and it puts its, potential trade partners in a tough spot. Ultimately, I feel like the 76ers are really just pushing for James Harden to stay. They're trying to convince him, and they figure the more time they take, the better chance they have of him staying, especially if they keep asking for too much. No team is really willing to take the offer. And so they'll be like, hey, James, listen, we're not getting the return fee that we need. And so we're going to just kind of let you sit here, and then he's just going to want to play. That's kind of the situation I'm thinking it is. We also have, his teammates, Joel Embiid, for instance. Rachel Nichols says she spoke to him about, James Harden's trade request, and B said he's hopeful that Harden's mindset can be changed. This is, again, what I'm talking about. This is a pretty veteran team. So he's got Joel Embiid, MVP of the NBA last season. He's got Patrick Beverly. He's got guys here that can try to convince him, hey, man, we're a veteran team. You're not starting over. You're not starting fresh. This is, veterans. This is one of the best players in the NBA. We're gritty veterans. Let's take another run at this, and so that may be exactly what's taking place here for James Harden to stay with the Rockets. I also wanted to show what his stats James Harden has done so far, right? In the NBA, just from like some of his things here. This is from Hoops Hype. In points, he's number 25 all time. He's ahead of Ray Allen and right behind Patrick Ewing. Rebounds, number 215 all time. Assists, number 20 all time. He's up there. Steals, number 47 all time. So, I mean, Harden's accomplished a lot from a statistical standpoint. He's no, you kind of forget almost just because he's always on different teams and he's chasing these championships and he's not. I don't know what it is in terms of he is a household name. He is an elite player. He is, one of the top names. Something about James Harden. I don't know if he just doesn't interview as much. He doesn't hit the media as much. He's not on podcasts, on YouTube, I don't know what it is on social media. Something about him. I mean, he's always out. He's always out partying. He's always out in the streets. He's always, getting popped by paparazzi and pictures and, you know, dealing with women that are in the media and headlines. And so it's not that. It's just something about him. He doesn't I feel like his name doesn't ring bells as popular as some of the other top players in the league for some reason, right? Like the Steph Currys, the LeBron James, these kind of guys. I feel like he's up there skill wise and ability wise. James Harden should get more love than what he gets. Is what I'm trying to say. The attention should be there more. And then staying along that same lines, he has a 651 to 349 record in his career. Obviously, his career record doesn't have everything to do with him. It's not just him. OKC had a really good team while he was there. The Houston had some really good teams while he was there. I'm not saying it's all, to credit to him, but just saying he's been a winner. His stats are, elite level. His ability is elite level. So the Sixers don't want to see him go, just like the Blazers don't want to see Dame go. It's understandable. But at the same time, there's no reason to rush out of any of these situations if the return doesn't make sense. Why would these teams want to not be able to compete at such a high level, at a higher level as they've been used to, as they're accustomed to? Well, not the Blazers in this situation. They're used to Dame competing at a high level, but not them necessarily. But I just think it was interesting, right? Like that record, right? We can't give him all the credit for it, but that's a really high winning record, man. That's nothing nothing to ignore. But again, I'm curious what you guys think. Is James Harden going to eventually force his way out of here? Does he have a team in mind? Or is the team, doing the right thing by taking their time, being patient with it? I think they are. I think I'm glad to see all these teams, Blazers, Sixers, and any other team that takes a stand against these trade demands, to try to get the most out of it, to not rush into them. And I respect it. I totally respect it. It's kind of like the running backs we spoke about earlier. I also respect them. I respect the team's position. I respect the player's position. In all these situations, I see both sides. I see both sides. But the market is the market. The value is the value that it currently stands at. There's nothing you can do about it except outperform it and push it.